Safety first. That is the topic of today's video. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, which is collegemeister.com. Campus safety really matters. It really matters. Guess what, guys? There are things that are more important than the rank of the college that you go to. One of those things is that you're living tomorrow. Okay, so there is a lot of crime on college campuses in the United States these days. There was a recent article, and I will link to it below on USA Today's website, and it talked about how crime has inched upwards on a number of college campuses in the United States. And of course, the United States is a big country. There are some very safe communities throughout the United States, and then there are some very dangerous communities throughout the United States. There are parts of the United States that have a higher murder rate than murder rates you see in Middle Eastern or Central American countries that are often stereotyped as being extremely unsafe. So you got to understand, the United States is diverse, and there are diverse experiences to be had across the country. With that in mind, just because a college has a high rank on the U.S. News and World Report college rankings list of national universities or national liberal arts institutions does not mean, or one of their other rankings, does not mean that it should be high on your list if you want to be a safe student for 4 years, from usually between the time you're about 18 years old till the time you're about 22 years old. Especially if you come from a community that is very dissimilar in terms of its safety profile from the community that you may be entering into as a college student. You want to think long and hard about if you are able to make the transition to be savvy about safety in the community you find yourself in. Personally, if I had a child and applying to university today in the United States, there are particular locations I would be very concerned about. There are particular cities right now in the United States that are extremely unpleasant to live in for the locals, in particular communities in particular. I'm thinking about places like North and West Philadelphia. I'm thinking about downtown Chicago. I'm thinking about South Central LA, Compton, you name it. All those areas are not pleasant places. They never really have been for generations, but they have gotten markedly less secure in recent years because of lots of different social, political factors that are causing these places not to be your mommy's and daddy's LA, or your mommy's and daddy's Philly, or your mommy's and daddy's Chicago. And so I want to make sure that as you're developing your college list with your college counselor at school, maybe with me, someone else you trust, or your mommy and daddy, it's extremely important that you contextualize what is the university or college community like today. Is it one that I would feel comfortable living in for 4 years? Not just going to classes during the day. Will I feel comfortable going out at night? Is there a particular time of night I won't feel so comfortable? Many of these campuses have blue light phones, emergency phones. How fast are the response times? Is that where the crime usually happens, or is it on the periphery? Are there blue light phones there? These are questions that you can and you should be asking, because you matter more than the rank of your school. And I want you to stay as safe as possible. Obviously, crime can happen anywhere at any time if there is a bad actor who wants to commit a crime. However, if you look at the statistics, there are definitely more crimes occurring in certain parts of the United States that are very much in close proximity to particular college campuses. I'm not going to do like the worst of list, because that would just not be nice. And crime can change from month to month, year to year. So I encourage you and empower you to do your own due diligence and research to figure out where you're applying and what its safety profile looks like. Would you feel comfortable looking like you look, dressing like you dress at 2 p.m. and at 2 a.m. on that college campus? Would you want to do it with friends? Would you want to do it alone? So these are questions that you should ask, and you should have open and honest conversations with your family about it, because, again, I believe health, being alive, being safe, these are far more important factors that you should consider than prestige or perceived prestige or rank, which again so often perverts the minds of those traversing the college admissions process in the United States of America. Certain colleges, again, locally here in the U.S. state of Maryland, where I am currently based, have even had the opportunity to develop their own police forces recently and have so far passed on doing so. Like, for instance, University of Pennsylvania, where I attended back in the day, has its own police force as double protection from crime with the Philadelphia Police Department. So they have literally two police departments, and they also have campus security to boot. Right now in Baltimore, which is not the safest place either, there is currently some campus security, but not a Johns Hopkins Police Department. There is simply security of particular buildings and parts of campus, private security, as well as the Baltimore City Police. But as we know, if we're following things, which I am because I'm local, the Baltimore City Police has lost many, many dozens, if not hundreds of officers over the last 5 years or so for, again, other reasons that we're not going to get into this video. So they're understaffed, and the crime is not exactly plummeting in either of those locations, either Philadelphia or Baltimore. So you do really want to do your research if you care about your child and if you, as a student, care about your safety, and ask yourself hard questions. Is it worth it for me? What will I do differently on this college campus than I do living in a suburb of Denver? What will I do differently coming from Rio de Janeiro than I would if I'm now in Philadelphia? Maybe actually you'll feel more safe. I don't know. Let's say you're coming from Bern, Switzerland. How will Chicago, University of Chicago's campus, feel different to me at 3 a.m. on a Friday night or Saturday morning than walking home in Bern, Switzerland, that time of day or week? So these are questions you need to ask yourself, and everyone is coming from their own place, and so therefore we all have our own incoming perspective. But it's very important, whether you're American and particularly if you're international, that you give a lot of thought to the safety profile of the institutions on your list. As I have stated, and I will state it again, crime can occur anywhere. There was a very sad incident in Georgia recently on a campus that is not usually associated with high crime, where a student lost her life. And so that doesn't happen every day on that particular campus in Georgia, whereas crime is more common, and the types of crimes aren't always deadly, but they can be definitely devastating on lots of campuses on a daily basis, depending on the part of the country of the United States you are in. So please have a column on your little spreadsheet as you're creating your college list for not just are the majors I'm interested available at this college? Is the male-female ratio to my liking at this college? Is the cost right, especially if I get financial aid or a scholarship? Is the size right? Is it good for me based off of its urbanness or its ruralness or its suburban character? But also have a column for, or a row, depending on how you're organizing your spreadsheet, for maybe ranking the schools in terms of your comfort level in terms of physical and environmental safety. And maybe safety goes beyond just crime committed by other individuals, but also the safety in terms of weather. You know, for instance, for a time in my life, lived in Florida. And goodness gracious me, I did not enjoy those hurricanes very much. And so maybe you put on your list just other factors that you may want to consider. May you find yourself evacuating at least once during your time on campus at this particular Florida school or this particular Louisiana school, based off of the historical patterns. Obviously, there's no guarantees. Past performance is not indicative of future returns, but it is extremely important that you ask yourself these questions. Do you want to be in a place where there are earthquakes often, or at a place where maybe there are earthquakes less commonly? Winter storms, that's pleasurable for many people. Many people like to experience snow, sometimes for the first time. Is that something that you would feel comfortable in if you had to do for 4 winters in a row? So this can also sort of be a part of your at calculation. And some people would subsume that within the idea of safety because, maybe they're slip sliding away in the snow, or they don't want to have the ceiling fall in on them if there's an earthquake, or if there's a hurricane, they don't like the idea of having their dorms flooded or turned to mold. So these are things that, some people would define as safety. So by all means, throw that in there as well. But safety matters. Safety first is what I would argue, because you matter more than where you go to college. Always remember that. You matter more than where you go to college. Keep things in proper perspective. I know it's very rare these days that people share their value systems with you, but I am sharing my value system with you, which is you matter more than the college that you attend. And do not get seduced by a big name school that you will not feel comfortable at night, or you will not feel comfortable at during hurricane season, or you will not feel comfortable at if it gets too cold, snowy, or windy, or whatever it might be for you that would put you in a situation where you would be highly uncomfortable. I'm not talking about, I think actually it's great to be somewhat uncomfortable throughout your 4 years of college, but no one should have to settle for something that makes them too uncomfortable. And you have to ask yourself, where is your equilibrium? And everyone decides on their own where that is. But definitely consider that, because far too frequently I see students only start to think about that when they're packing in August before they're moving in a few days. Think about it sooner. When you go on college tours and information sessions, ask these questions. You have every right to ask whatever questions are on your mind. If they can't answer those questions for you as a student tour guide or an admissions officer, hopefully they will follow up with you in some way, shape, or form and connect you with someone who can answer those questions. Maybe you want to talk to the head of the campus police or the security service or the local police and ask for records about crimes committed in that jurisdiction. What type of crimes are committed? How frequently? Is there a gender breakdown on the people committing the crime and the people who are victims of crime? These are all important, I think, factors that you can collect data on, and then you can be empowered to make the right choice for you. And I'm all about empowering you to make the right choices for you. Everyone watching this video right now has a different value system, but everyone has a skill set, I believe, to be able to digest information and analyze what that information means to them if they're willing to engage in the process. But many individuals just completely compartmentalize what is important to them so much. It has to have this major, or it has to be within 50 miles from home, or it has to have this, or it has to be this cost. And I'm not saying those aren't important, but if you have the luxury of not having to settle, which some people don't have, I do respect that. I do understand that there are some individuals who do have to settle for whatever reason, maybe cost, maybe other family commitments, maybe, only a few schools on earth offer that major program. And so they have to settle. And so they at least go in eyes wide open, knowing that they may be settling on their safety or some other factors or characteristics of campus because they want something else on that campus so much. And that's fair. But I definitely want you to at least have a line item on your list that includes an analysis created directly from your value system of how safe is that campus, how comfortable will I feel on a daily basis and a nightly basis. And please just, ruminate on that as much as you possibly can, because I think parents obviously, often associate particular colleges with how the colleges were 20 or 30 years ago and their locations, but places change, people just like people change. And students often look at the best aspects of a college campus and not necessarily the worst aspects of a college campus when they are in the courting process of visiting colleges and learning about colleges. But I think every party has to think a little bit longer and harder about safety. So definitely remember, safety counts, safety first in the college admissions and ultimately college list development process. If you are interested, by the way, in attending a selective college or university, you may not know whether or not you are on track for admission. Well, I have a great new resource for you that you can go to. It's called areyouontracktogetin.com. And I encourage you to go there. It's free, and there are questions. You can fill it out as a student. You can fill it out as a parent to assess whether or not you or your student is on track to be in the best position possible to get into highly selective colleges and universities in the United States. There are no guarantees, of course, but by completing that questionnaire, you will have or it's an assessment, really. You will get email to you your results, and from my mouth to your inbox. Basically, I have written what the results mean and what I deem is an impressive result versus maybe a less than impressive result, and what I would do next. So if that is of importance to you as you're developing your college list, as you're weighing your values and your priorities as you cobble together that college list, definitely go to that free resource, which is areyouontracktogetiN.com. My name again is Craig Meister. If you want to work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process, go to my website, which is collegemeister.com. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing to my channel. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, stay stress-free throughout the entire college admissions process.